Hello, everyone, and welcome to EduTap. And I welcome you all to this session where we are going to discuss some important MCQs for the exam of ESIC Deputy Director. Right, so today we are talking about freedom movement and Indian Union. In the previous many sessions, we have discussed various important MCQs related to this particular component, and we know that this component is a very important part of the phase 1 examination, part B, where we are going to be tested on our general knowledge skills. Right, so now without any delay, let us start with the session today. But before going on to the first question, I would like to remind you that if you like the content that is being provided on our YouTube channel, please do subscribe to our channel and also join our Telegram channel by the name of EduTap, where you will be getting all the PDFs of all the sessions that we have on YouTube absolutely free of cost, and they are available for download. And you can go there and download our content, and you can use that content to strengthen your preparation. Right. So now let us start with the question number one. Question number one is in front of you right now. Look at this question. Question is about two statements, and you have to identify the correct statement out of these two. So very carefully, whenever you are going to answer your questions in the main exam, as well as when you are practicing, make sure that you read the entire question statement very carefully. Right, so here we are being asked to identify the correct statements. Let us read the statements first. First one says, Vasco da Gama was the first European to reach Indian Ocean from Atlantic. Right, and the second statement says Vasco da Gama was the first European to reach India by sea. So both the statements are about Vasco da Gama, who was a very famous explorer. Vasco da Gama is the first European to reach Indian Ocean from the Atlantic, that he was able to cross the entire continent of Africa, right? And he crossed the Atlantic Ocean and then entered into the Indian Ocean. This was done for the first time not by Vasco da Gama, but his compatriot, another explorer from Portugal, who was who is credited for entering into the Indian Ocean from the Atlantic Ocean. That name of that explorer is Bartholomew Diaz. So first statement here is not correct. Second statement says Vasco da Gama was the first European to reach India by sea. Yes, this is right. So whenever anyone asks you who is credited for discovering the maritime route to India, right? Whenever you want to reach India from Europe and you want to take the maritime route, you want to cross the entire continent of Africa, that route was discovered by Vasco da Gama. So the correct statement here is only the second statement. Only the second statement is right. So Bartholomew Diaz was the first European to reach Indian Ocean from Atlantic, while in 1498 Vasco da Gama was the first European to enter into the Indian waters to reach India थ्रू दी मैरिटाइम रूट फ्रॉम यूरोप. तो ये चीज आपको बिल्कुल क्लियर हो गई है. इसके बाद बात करते हैं क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 की. नाउ लुक एट द क्वेश्चन नंबर 2. क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 इज अबाउट नवविधान. Navavidhan is another name for which of the following reform movements of 19th century in India. In the course that we have provided you for the freedom movement and Indian Union component of our syllabus, we have provided you a specific chapter where we are discussing the various reform movements that were taken up during the Indian freedom struggle, especially during the 18th and 19th centuries. The Indian society, which was made of various evils, that society was reformed through various ways. Which of the following organizations or reform movements is also known by the name of Navavidhan? Right. So options are Brahmo Samaj, Adi Brahmo Samaj of India, and Sadharan Brahmo Samaj. And we know that Brahmo Samaj was founded by Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and this Brahmo Samaj eventually gradually it got split into various different organizations, and one such organization, it was also known as by the name of Navavidhan, and that organization is Brahmo Samaj of India. Right, so option C is the correct answer. Brahmo Samaj of India is the correct answer. Next up, let us talk about the question number 3. Question number 3 is about the exposure to Western ideas which happened to the Indian masses in the 19th century. This exposure to Western ideas, it generated a reaction from Indians. Obviously, we were being educated by the English, and we were being educated in the European languages and European ideas, European literature, and this exposure to the Western ideas, to European ideas, it had some reactions from Indians. Which of the following correctly describes such reaction? So in order to answer this question, we must be very clear about the reactions Indian had when we started learning about the European literature, European thinkers, European languages. Then what was the reaction? Options are, look at the options: revulsion against Hindu religion and culture. Option B, accepting the best of East and West. Option C, emergence of neo-Hinduism, a new kind of Hinduism, a new kind of religion was emerging. And option D is all of the above. So when you see this kind of question in your examination, now this is not entirely a factual question. In the deputy director exam, the entire exam is being conducted by UPSC, so we expect that the levels of questions will not be very simple. The level of questions will be will be quite good, especially if we talk about the component of freedom struggle and Indian Union. We can expect that UPSC will throw in your way some questions which are very conceptual questions, and you will have to know the ideas, the concepts in order to answer these questions. Such a kind of question is this question number 3. Very carefully you have to understand that when Indians came to know about the Western ideas, they also reacted in a multiple number of ways. They also developed a revulsion against their own culture. There was a section of Indian population, section 1, what it thought was that Europe or West is the best and East is not that good. The Indian ideas, Indian history, Indian literature was not that good as compared to the European literature. So one section of the Indian intelligentsia was thinking like this. Another section thought that it is good to accept what is best of both the worlds. What is best from the Europe, what is best from the Indian or Asian mythologies or Asian literature. We have to take best things out of all those, and we have to make a hybrid. We have to make best of both the worlds. Next kind of reaction was emergence of Neo Hinduism. It was also there. Neo Hinduism basically means that we started reforming our own religion. We started reforming the evil practices in Hinduism, right? And therefore, this new kind of Hinduism, which believed in much liberal ideas, much modern ideas, that kind of Hinduism was known as Neo Hinduism. Various thinkers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy also advocated for Neo Hinduism, right? So actually, all the three are reactions which were given by Indians to the Western education. So our correct answer will be option D, all of the above, right? Now let's look at the question number 4. Question number 4 is now related to the chronology of various events in the Indian freedom struggle. With reference to the Indian freedom struggle, which one of the following is the correct chronological order of the given events? Right. Options are the three events which are given here as partition of Bengal, right? And the next is Lucknow Pact. And then is a Surat split of Congress. The Surat split, which happened between the moderates and extremists, owing to the differing or contrasting approaches both wanted to adopt for Congress. So, out of these three events, which of the events happened first? We have to understand that partition of Bengal was a very important benchmark. We all know when partition of Bengal happened. It happened in 1905. It was finalized in 1904 and it was enacted, it was accentuated in 1905, right? So partition of Bengal happened. Then Surat split of Congress. Surat split of Congress happened in 1907. It will be very easy for us to understand the chronology of all these events if we study the Indian freedom struggle like a history, like a story, sorry, because all the events, they are interconnected to each other. One event leads to the another. So partition of Bengal happened in 1905, and all the Indian freedom fighters, all the Indian leaders, they wanted to protest against this partition because it was done by Britishers in an unjust manner. So now all the leaders, especially in Bengal and in Bombay province, what they did was they wanted a new extremist kind of approach to violent against this partition of Bengal. They wanted to resort to strikes. They wanted to resort to Swadeshi goods. They wanted to resort to boycott of all the goods which were made by the English. They wanted to boycott the English education which was provided by the British officials or British schools and colleges. So now this kind of difference, some of the Congress leaders, they wanted this kind of boycott, this kind of strike and extremist approach, while some leaders of Congress, what they wanted was they wanted peaceful ways to protest. They wanted to appeal to the English. They wanted to write constitutional memorandas and appeals to the Parliament of Britain or to the Viceroy of India, and they thought that this was the way to go ahead. Now, this Surat split therefore happened in 1907 because it was in response to the partition of Bengal. How should we respond to the partition of Bengal? Then the leaders of the Congress, they had difference in opinion, and therefore they split their ways and they adopted their own different approaches, right? So this happened in 1905. This happened in 1907. Already, if we don't know about the Lucknow Pact, We don't know when Lucknow Pact happened, but we know that partition of Bengal happened first. So in all the options where partition of Bengal is in front of Surat split of Congress, that has to be the correct answer. So option D is incorrect. Partition of Bengal is at last of the order. So obviously it did not happen after Surat split. Surat split after partition of Bengal, again C option is wrong because partition of Bengal happened after Surat split. If we look at the first two options now, our correct answer will be from option A and B. We have already narrowed down the probability of finding the correct answer to 50%. And in this question, the correct answer is actually option B, because Surat split of Congress happened in 1907, while Lucknow Pact, it happened in 1916. Right? So therefore, the correct answer for this question will be option B. Right? Now let us jump on to the next question, the question number 5th of today's session, and this question is related to the Maratha families, the Maratha ruling classes which were there in the different centers of India. We have to identify the incorrectly matched pairs. So very carefully, again I'm reminding you that whenever you read any question, be very careful to identify if you have to answer the correct or incorrect options, right? So in this question, mid 18th century, Peshwas, they were ruling over Pune. Scindias, they were ruling from Gwalior. Gaikwads, they were ruling from Nagpur, and Bhonsle, they were ruling from Baroda. Right? All these are Maratha ruling classes, Maratha ruling families, and they were settled in different parts of the country. Peshwas, they were in Pune. Scindias, they were in Gwalior, while Gaikwads, they were in Baroda. Gaikwads, they were in Baroda, while Bhosles were in Nagpur. Right? So the correct or incorrectly matched pairs are option 3 and 4. Therefore, our correct answer is option C, 3 and 4. So many of us aspirants, what we will do is, we will look at the correct options. Even if we know that Peshwa and Scindia, they are correctly matched, we will go ahead and mark the correct answers as 1 and 2. Right? Without paying heed to this particular statement that we have to identify the incorrectly matched answers. So therefore, the correct answer for this question will be option number C, 3 and 4 only. Right? Next up, let us talk about the question number 6. Question number 6 is about the subsidiary alliance. Who was the first Indian native ruler to accept the system of subsidiary alliance? We know about subsidiary alliance, that Britishers, they entered into an agreement with the local rulers and kings and princes, and they made their own army, the English army, the British army, to be stationed at the princely state at the expense of the ruler. Right? So which one of the following Indian rulers was the first to accept this system of subsidiary alliance? Options are Scindia of Gwalior, Nizam of Hyderabad, Dalip Singh of Punjab, or Gaikwad of Baroda. So these were the important princely states of that time. And out of these, be very careful. Always remember this fact. This is a very well-known question and has been repeated many times in various examinations in the past. The Nizam of Hyderabad is the first native ruler to accept the system of subsidiary alliance. Right? So be very careful about this fact. Next up, let us talk about the question number 7th. Question number 7th is again about non-cooperation movement. And again, a conceptual kind of question, not a very factual kind of question. So now in these kinds of questions, you have to think again. You have to put your thinking caps on. So this question says, which of the following cannot be regarded as the consequence of non-cooperation movement? So we have been given 4 different consequences. Which of these is not a consequence of non-cooperation movement that you have to identify? Look at the consequence number 1, removal of fear of British from the minds of masses. Indian people, they were quite scared of Britishers. They were afraid of Britishers before non-cooperation movement, but after the non-cooperation movement, the minds of masses, they were free of this fear, and they were now not that afraid, not that scared of the British. Right? This is the first consequence. This is possible, yes, because Gandhiji came and he started this non-cooperation movement. A large number of people from various parts of the country, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, and from Balochistan region to Nagaland, Assam region, all the people, they participated in this movement, and obviously the fear of British, it was now lesser as compared to before the non-cooperation movement. Next is stirring anti-British feelings amongst Muslim of India, that the Muslim population of India, it was not that anti-British before the non-cooperation movement, but it became much more anti-British after the non-cooperation movement. This is consequence number 2, and this is also correct, because if you remember the history correctly, if you have learned our courses correctly, if you read the courses correctly, in that courses we have explained that Muslims in India, initially they were not that anti-British, because they thought that Britishers will be able to protect their interests in front of the majority Hindu community, because obviously Muslims all over the India, they were in minority. In some provinces like in Punjab or like in Bengal, they were in majority, but in the entire India they were not, and therefore they wanted Britishers to protect their own interests, right? But non-cooperation movement, after non-cooperation movement, anti-British feelings, they become much more stronger in the Muslim community, right? And this one important reason is also that Khilafat movement also started by that time. The World War One was going on, and the Sultan of Turkey, the Caliph of Turkey, the Khalifa of Ottoman Empire, he was being disposed of by the Britishers, and therefore again the Muslims in India, they became anti-British. Next consequence is strengthening of Hindu-Muslim unity. The Hindu-Muslim unity, it got much stronger before after non-cooperation movement. It was not that strong before non-cooperation movement, right? Option 4, communalization of Indian politics happened. After non-cooperation movement, the Indian politics got much more communalized. Religious overtones, they became much more part of this particular Indian politics after the non-cooperation movement. So now very carefully identify the consequences which are not because of the non-cooperation movement, which are not related or owed to the non-cooperation movement. Out of these options, strengthening of Hindu-Muslim unity is the only consequence, I think, which is not a consequence of non-cooperation movement. Why am I saying this? Because Hindu-Muslim unity was strong even before the non-cooperation movement. From the times of the Home Rule League and the World War One started in 1914, by that time, in the Hindu-Muslim unity, it got much stronger. Gandhiji also came into picture, and he was such a secular figure because he also attracted a lot of Muslim people, a lot of Hindu people, and a lot of people from other religion and communities also. So that is why we cannot say that Hindu-Muslim unity strengthened because of non-cooperation movement. Why? Because before non-cooperation it was much stronger. After non-cooperation, we know that Chauri Chaura incident happened, and in Chauri Chaura incident, some violence happened, and Gandhiji called off the non-cooperation movement, and because of that, various Muslim scholars and leaders, they were not very happy with the way non-cooperation movement was ended, and therefore the Hindu-Muslim unity, it took a hit, and again the Khilafat movement, it died down. The Khalifa in Turkey was removed, and Turkey, it got converted into a secular republic. So again, the Muslim sentiments in India, they were not much in favor of Hindu-Muslim unity. So therefore, the correct answer for this question has to be option 3, right? 3 only. Only option C, 3 only is the correct consequence, which did not happen because of non-cooperation movement. All the other consequences, removal of fear, it happened. Stirring anti-British feelings, it happened. Communalization of Indian politics, yes, it did happen, right? Next up is question number 8. Question number 8 is about the Swarajists and no changers. So we have been given two statements about Swarajists and no changes, and correct statement we have to identify out of these two. The statement number 1 says the main difference between the Swarajists and no changers was over the issue of elections to municipalities and local bodies. Now be very careful. Swarajists, also known as pro changers, right? So Swarajists and or pro changers and no changers, both these were different factions within the Congress. And one side, Swarajists, they wanted to contest the elections, while no changers, they did not want to contest the elections. Which elections are we talking about? Are we talking about municipalities and local bodies? No, we are not talking about that. We are talking about the Central Indian Legislative Council, and also the provincial assemblies, the provincial legislative assemblies, where elections were going to be conducted in 1920s and 30s. Therefore, this first statement is wrong, because the main difference was over the issue of elections to not municipalities and local bodies, but to the provincial assemblies, right? Second statement, both Swarajists as well as no changers supported the constructive program of the Congress, the program of the Congress which was there for the poverty alleviation or women empowerment or education of the masses, or the program which worked for the distressed classes, for the lower classes or lower castes. That program was being supported by all the leaders of the Congress, irrespective of whether they supported elections or not. And therefore, the correct answer for the question number 8 is only the second statement is right. The option B is the correct answer, right? The first statement, what is wrong? The elections, the kind of elections they were fighting about, that elections, they were not the municipal or local bodies elections. Those elections were central and provincial assembly elections, right? Next up is the question number 9, my friends, and this question is about Carlisle Circular. The infamous Carlisle Circular was issued in the early part of the 20th century, and this Carlisle Circular was issued with an objective. What was the objective of issuing this Carlisle Circular? Option number 1, suppressing the revolutionary activities during the World War One. Option B, suppress nationalist activities during Home Rule movement. Option C, threaten student activists taking part in the Swadeshi movement, and option D, threaten Indian civil servants showing sympathy to the nationalist leaders. So if we are clear about the timelines, then we can try to answer this particular question. Carlisle circular was being issued to threaten people who were participating in the Swadeshi movement in response to the partition of Bengal. Right. So partition of Bengal happened in 1905, and the people, various Indian leaders and students who were studying in various different colleges, British colleges or even nationalist colleges, they started to participate in the Swadeshi movement. And in order to threaten these student activists, this Carlisle circular was issued, and therefore the correct answer is option C. And this circular basically said that if you participate in the Swadeshi movement, your credentials, your academic background, your career, it will be disposed of. You will be tried in the court of law for violating the principles of your educational institutions, and that is why the student activists, they were being they were being forced to not participate in the movement. And in response to this, Indian leaders, they opened their own schools, they opened their own nationalist colleges, so that these students, they can study in the nationalist schools and colleges and not the schools which are controlled by the British government, right? Now, friends, let us answer the 10th question of the day, the last question of this particular session. And this question is about essays on Indian economics. Who wrote the essays on Indian economics, which was published in 1898? The very famous personality, who that personality is, options are Ramesh Chandra Dutt, Dadabhai Naoroji, Mahadev Govind Ranade, or Gopal Krishna Gokhale, GK Gokhale. So essays on Indian economics were written by Mahadev Govind Ranade, MG Ranade. Option C is the correct answer, in 1898. And MG Ranade, in these essays on Indian economics, he gave various case studies and stories to highlight the fact that Indian economy was being impoverished by the policies adopted by the British government, right? The Indians, they were being governed, their economy was being drained off for the benefit of the British citizens and British people, right? So this is all for today, my friends, and I hope these 10 MCQs that we have talked about here, these MCQs would help you a lot in your preparation and in the revision of the freedom struggle and Indian Union section of your examination for ESICDD. So this is all for today. Please grant me leave and keep on with your preparations. And if you like this video, please do like this video and also subscribe to our channel. And Jai Hind and Jai Bharat.